Welcome to Fun Facts Daily, your source for just the good stuff. Monday through Friday, we're bringing fun facts and news you can use, all carefully curated to uplift and inform. So give yourself a break, relax, and learn something awesome in just a few minutes every day. Hi everyone, I'm Kyle Wood, and today we're going to be learning all about potato chips. This one is another one that's been requested by multiple fans, so Sydney, Luna, and anyone else who's been wanting to hear this, I hope you enjoy it. And as long as I'm doing shoutouts, I feel like I should mention my friend Jace, who left me a kind rating in Apple Podcasts, who wanted me to shout out the Vernon family in a podcast episode. So a shout out to all of you. Hope you're still enjoying the show. Now, as always, before we get into the facts, let's warm up our brains with a little challenge to see if you can tell fact from fiction. Consider this. One of the most famous stories in culinary history says that in 1853, a chef named George Crum invented the potato chip purely out of spite after a restaurant guest kept sending his fried potatoes back to the kitchen for being too thick and soggy. According to legend, Crum sliced the potatoes paper thin, fried them to a crisp, and heavily salted them to teach the customer a lesson, only to learn something himself because he had accidentally created a delicious snack. What do you think? Is this an actual fact or just too good to be true? We'll find out at the end of the episode. Now for your word of the day. Our word for today is tuber. That's Tuber. A tuber is the botanical classification for the humble potato. A tuber is defined as a much thickened underground part of a stem or rhizome serving as a food reserve and bearing buds from which a new plant arise. Unlike roots, which simply draw water and nutrients from the soil, a tuber is loaded with starches to store energy to help the plant survive through cold winter months. Because they're packed with all those complex carbohydrates, tubers are incredibly dense and heavy before they're harvested. This high starch content is exactly what allows potatoes to transform into a perfectly golden, crispy chip when sliced thin and exposed to high heat. The word tuber originates from the Latin word tuber, which simply meant a lump, bump, or swelling. When scientists and botanists began classifying plants in the 17th century, they adopted this Latin term to describe these fleshy, underground storage organs. Over time, the word became a staple in agricultural and biological vocabulary, separating true tubers like potatoes from other root vegetables like carrots. Time for your daily high five, our top 5 fun facts about potato chips. Number 1, the extra space in your potato chip bag is filled with nitrogen gas to protect the snack. Have you ever opened a new bag of chips and felt disappointed by how much empty space was inside? That extra room, often called slack fill, serves a very important purpose for food preservation. Instead of regular atmospheric air, manufacturers flush the bags with nitrogen gas right before they're permanently sealed. Nitrogen is an inert gas, meaning it doesn't react chemically with the oils and fats present in the fried potatoes. By displacing the oxygen that would normally cause the food to spoil, this packaging significantly extends the shelf life of the snack. And it goes beyond preventing oxidation and keeping the chips fresh. The nitrogen gas also acts as a physical cushion. Potato chips are notoriously fragile, but they have to survive a long journey from the manufacturing plant to the grocery store shelves. The puffed up bag provides a protective bubble that absorbs shocks and bumps during shipping and handling. Without this protective barrier of nitrogen gas, you would likely open your snack to find a bag full of tiny, unappetizing stale crumbs. Number 2. The loud crunching sound you hear while eating potato chips actually tricks your brain into thinking they taste better. When we think of enjoying a delicious snack, we often focus entirely on the sense of taste, and some people will consider the smell as well. But researchers at Oxford University conducted a fascinating study finding that our ears play a surprisingly big role in how we experience potato chips. The scientists had participants eat chips while wearing specialized headphones that manipulated the volume and frequency of their own crunching sounds. When the high frequency sounds of the crunch were amplified, the participants reported that the chips tasted significantly fresher and much crispier. This phenomenon is now known in the scientific community as sonic seasoning. This multisensory connection explains why chips that have gone slightly soft or stale are so incredibly disappointing to eat. Even if the actual flavor profile of the chip and the salt remains completely unchanged, the lack of a sharp acoustic crunch ruins the experience. Food scientists and chip manufacturers spend tons of time and money studying, experimenting, and engineering the perfect texture to maximize this auditory feedback. Number 3. It takes 4 pounds of raw potatoes to produce just 1 pound of potato chips. If you've ever wondered why potato chips seem so light compared to a heavy baked potato, it all comes down to water weight. A raw potato pulled directly from the ground is composed of about 80% water and only 20% solid matter. When the thin slices are dropped into the extremely hot cooking oil, almost all of that internal moisture rapidly boils and evaporates away. This loss of water is what transforms the heavy, starchy vegetable into a light, crispy wafer. Because of this extreme moisture reduction, the manufacturing ratio is generally 4 pounds of raw potatoes for every 1 pound of chips. Thankfully, although the water weight is lost as the chips are produced, the water doesn't go to waste. The steam generated by all that evaporating moisture is often recaptured and repurposed to heat the manufacturing facilities. Number 4. Seasoned potato chips were invented in the 1950s by an Irish company looking to spice up the old snack. For the first several decades of their existence, potato chips were only sold in one completely unflavored variety. Most companies simply provided a small, sealed packet of salt tucked inside the bag for customers to sprinkle on themselves. This all changed in 1954 when Joe Spud Murphy, the owner of an Irish snack company called Tayto, decided to experiment. He developed new technology that allowed dry, savory seasonings to adhere directly to the chips during the manufacturing process. After some trial and error, he successfully launched the world's very first seasoned chip, introducing the cheese and onion flavor on the market. Murphy's invention revolutionized the global snack food industry almost overnight. Companies around the world quickly realized the massive potential and began purchasing the rights to use Tayto's flavor adhesion techniques. This paved the way for the myriad of wild and wonderful chip flavors we see in the grocery store shelves today. From classic barbecue and sour cream and onion to international favorites like seaweed or roasted chicken, every seasoned potato chip traces its roots back to Ireland. And our fifth and final fun fact for today: Americans consume around 11.2 million pounds of potato chips on just one day, Super Bowl Sunday. The annual Super Bowl championship is not just a massive event for sports fans, it's a goldmine for the snack food industry. As millions of people gather around their televisions to watch the big game and the halftime show, they collectively consume staggering amounts of food. Statistics show that potato chips reign supreme at viewing parties. In just one single day, Americans managed to eat more than 11.2 million pounds of chips. That's roughly the same weight as 14 fully loaded commercial airplanes. Snack companies actually ramp up their production schedules months in advance just to ensure that store shelves are adequately stocked for the February rush. Marketing teams also spend huge portions of their annual budgets securing prime advertising space both in stores and during the game's famous commercial breaks. But our love for potato chips goes well beyond game day. Over the course of an entire year, Americans consume a total of nearly 6 billion pounds of potato chips, which breaks down to an average of 18.7 pounds per person. While the United States takes the crown for eating the most chips per person, China actually consumes the highest total volume overall due to their massive population size. They eat an estimated 6.4 to 7 billion pounds of chips annually. And when we look on a global scale, the world eats an estimated 38 billion pounds of potato chips annually. Now for some news you can use. There's nothing worse than reaching into a bag of your favorite chips, grabbing a handful, then taking a bite, only to discover they've gone stale. Okay, truthfully, there are many things worse than stale chips, but this is a problem we can solve. You can easily revive them right in your own kitchen. The secret to restoring their crunch is removing the excess moisture that chips have naturally absorbed from the humid air around them. To do this, all you have to do is spread your stale potato chips in a single layer on a microwave-safe plate. Microwave them on high power for about 30 seconds and then let them sit on the counter to cool down completely. As they cool, the trapped moisture will evaporate and the chips will crisp right back up. If you have a larger batch, you can achieve the same result by baking them on a sheet pan at 400 degrees for about 3 to 5 minutes. It's a little trick that can cut down on food waste so less is going into the landfill, and it guarantees you a perfect snacking experience every time. Finally, the moment you've been waiting for. At the beginning of the episode, I asked about the famous story of George Crum inventing the potato chip in 1853 out of spite for a complaining customer. Is that an actual fact or too good to be true? Well, yes. The answer isn't simply true or false, it's a bit of both. If we're talking strictly about the first time a human being sliced a potato paper thin and fried it in oil, then the invention story is a bit murky. Recipes for potatoes fried in slices or shavings actually appeared in a best-selling English cookbook called The Cook's Oracle back in 1822, over 30 years before the supposed incident with Crum. In reality, staples like potatoes have been prepared in similar ways by countless different cultures for generations, making it almost impossible to pin down a single original inventor of the dish. But to call Crum's story a fallacy would be doing a massive disservice to his incredible legacy. While he may not have been the very first person on Earth to fry a thin potato, Crum is undeniably the father of the modern American potato chip. As a highly respected chef in a wealthy, bustling resort town of Saratoga Springs, New York, Crum's incredibly popular Saratoga Chips officially put the snack on the map. He elevated it into a culinary sensation for high society. The legendary story of a disgruntled customer might have been a bit embellished by clever marketers over the years, but George Crum's kitchen is the true point of origin for the potato chip's rise to commercial fame in the United States. So, while he never held a patent for the very first potato chip, his story is rooted in deep historical significance, and he was definitely pivotal in transforming the potato into the snack we all know and love today. Now, I hope you enjoyed learning a bit about potato chips with me today, and be sure to tune in every weekday for even more fun facts. Fun Facts Daily is an Airwave Media podcast. It was written, recorded, mixed, and edited by me, Kyle Wood. Thanks for sharing a part of your day with me. Be sure to follow Fun Facts Daily on your favorite podcast app so you can keep the good stuff coming your way every day. And if you like the show, please do me a favor and leave a kind rating, review, or just tell your friends about it.